Do you know how much Nvidia is worth as of today? Around $5.1 trillion. Let that number sink in. That's bigger than the entire economy of Japan, the fifth largest economy on Earth. It's roughly the GDP of France and Canada combined. One company, more valuable than entire nations. So you'd assume the man behind it was a born genius who saw AI coming and cashed in. But here's the problem. There was no luck. 16 years before ChatGPT existed, Jensen Huang bet his whole company on a technology nobody wanted. And Wall Street crushed him for it. Nvidia's value collapsed from $12 billion to under $3. His own engineers thought he'd lost his mind. He was wrong, for almost a decade. So the real story isn't about a man who got lucky. It's about a boy who scrubbed toilets, and a man who was hated for being right too early. The smell of bleach and toilet cleaner. That's what America was at first. He was 9 years old, the youngest boy on campus at a boarding school in rural Kentucky, a place his uncle had mistaken for a prestigious academy. It was actually a reform school for troubled kids. His parents back in Asia had sold nearly everything they owned to send him there, believing they were buying him a future. His roommate carried a knife. The older boy smoked, fought, and tormented him for being foreign. And every single day after class, his job was to clean the bathrooms, the whole dormitory's bathrooms. A 9-year-old scrubbing toilets, an ocean away from his mother, who had once taught him English by making him memorize 10 random words a night. Most kids would have broken. He didn't. He learned something there that would define the next 50 years of his life. How to survive a place that wasn't built for him to win. What none of those boys could have known was that the smallest, quietest kid scrubbing their toilets would one day run the most valuable company on Earth. 47,000 returned chips out of 50,000 sold. That was Nvidia's first real product, the NV1. Jensen had founded the company in 1993 in a Denny's booth, the same restaurant where he'd bust tables as a teenager. He was 30, married, 2 kids, no idea how to run a company. None of us knew how to do anything, he later admitted. The NV1 was a bet on the wrong technology. Nvidia built its chip around one kind of geometry, then Microsoft released a standard built around a completely different one. Overnight, every game on the market became incompatible. Developers abandoned them. Customers shipped the chips back by the truckload. But the worst was still ahead. By 1996, Nvidia had to lay off half its staff. They were weeks away from missing payroll, weeks from simply ceasing to exist. Jensen gave his remaining engineers one option: build an entirely new chip, faster than anyone had ever done it, and ship it without testing it on real hardware first. In the chip world, that's insane. One error costs millions. There was no money for a second mistake. He bet the company on a simulation, 8 weeks, no safety net. They powered on the new chip, the Riva 128, and it worked flawlessly. Nvidia survived by a margin so thin that Jensen turned it into the company's permanent motto. To this day, he opens meetings with 5 words. We're 30 days from going out of business, not as a fear, as a discipline. In 2006, he made a decision that looked like financial suicide. Nvidia launched something called CUDA, software that let its gaming chips do general math, not just graphics. It doubled the cost of every chip. Customers hadn't asked for it. Nobody understood why a graphics company was suddenly building a programming platform for scientists. The market's response was silence. Then the stock collapsed, from $12 billion down toward $2. Investors called it a costly mistake. Even people inside Nvidia thought CUDA was a distraction from the business that actually made money. Jensen kept funding it anyway, for 6 years, pouring billions into a product the world had no use for, chasing what he called a $0 billion market, a market that didn't exist yet. Then came the moment everything turned. September 2012, a small team from the University of Toronto entered an AI image recognition contest using 2 of Nvidia's gaming cards, running CUDA. Their system, AlexNet, didn't just win, it demolished the field, leaping accuracy from 74% to nearly 85%. 20 years of conventional methods made obsolete in a single afternoon. And the chips that made it possible? The ones nobody wanted. Jensen saw the result and understood instantly what it meant. The future he'd been funding in the dark had just arrived. After that, Nvidia stopped chasing the future and started building it. Jensen declared deep learning the most important project in the company's history and turned the entire ship toward AI. In 2016, he personally hand-delivered the world's first AI supercomputer to a tiny startup called OpenAI. The data center business that barely existed in 2012 began to explode. Then the world caught up to him. When the AI boom hit, every major company on the planet, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Meta, OpenAI, discovered they needed exactly one thing to build it: Nvidia's chips. And there was no real alternative. If you want me to break down how Jensen actually built CUDA into an unbreakable moat that competitors still can't crack, comment moat below, and I'll make that the next video. That's how you get back to the number we started with. In July 2025, Nvidia became the first company in history worth $4 trillion. Months later, 5. Today it sits above $5 trillion, worth more than entire nations. And Jensen, the toilet-scrubbing immigrant kid, became one of the 10 richest people alive, with a fortune near $180 billion. 96% of it built after 2020. Go back to that 9-year-old in Kentucky, scrubbing a bathroom that wasn't his, in a country that wasn't his, surrounded by people who wanted him gone. He didn't survive that by being the smartest or the strongest. He survived it by learning to keep working in a place where no one believed in him, and to keep going long after the world had decided he was wrong. That's the whole story, really. Nvidia didn't win because Jensen got lucky. It won because he could sit inside the silence. 6 years of a market that didn't exist, a decade of being told he was a fool, and keep building anyway. The discipline wasn't betting on AI. The discipline was refusing to quit during the years when betting on it looked stupid. Most people give up in the silence right before the thing they built finally matters. Jensen just refused to. He's still the kid who knows how close everything always is to ending. 30 days from going out of business. Every single day. If this one stayed with you, there's a whole library of stories like it waiting. Subscribe to Rise from Zero. The $5 trillion was never luck. It was just someone who didn't flinch.